I gotta go. I gotta cover some things. I'm here right now at the table. Okay, I'm gonna talk boxing because that's what I do. So I'll call you back. All right, peace. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here because one thing and one thing only. I'm at the table, but two people are missing. KSI and Tommy Fury. The fight that we thought was signed, sealed, and delivered may just now be completely off the table. What do I mean? Breakdown. Let's go. All right, so you guys saw yesterday, KSI dropped a video and straight up put a demand out for Tommy Fury. We've been covering this for a couple of weeks now and wondering and kind of speculating what is taking that fight so long. I mean, Tommy was in the ring when KSI fought Joe Fournier and they had the little pushing and the shoving and the trash talk, and all we kept hearing is this deal is close. It is almost there. We are one thing or two things away. Everything is agreed on. And then we even get a report out yesterday or the day before about this fight taking place in Manchester, all for KSI to go on video and say this.
I mean, we agreed on all the terms. We agreed on paying you exactly what you asked for. We agreed the amount of rounds. We agreed to fight at 180 with no rehydration clause. We also agreed to fight in your hometown, Manchester. We agreed on all of that, and then you chose to move the goalposts yet again. Now you're demanding that we fight at 185 or we're not fighting at all.
Tommy Fury is now requesting to fight at 185 pounds, and all I can say to you all is welcome to negotiating fights with the Fury family, because on this side we have KSI, who throughout this negotiation has been completely rational. Bro, do you know who I am? KSI, owner of Prime. You have no right to come in and disrespect me. Sign the contract as is, or you're going down like that, Yeah, I want that knocked down. You're getting knocked the fuck down, pussy-o. Sign the contract as is and fear the nightmare. KSI. You pussy-o. And on this side, we have Tommy Fury and the Fury family.
You're dealing with the Fury family, mate. If you're not agreeing to 185 pounds for 3 million pounds on top of the pounds, it's lost in translation. Either way, we're out here. Agree to the deal right now, or Tommy Fury will be fighting Jake Paul, Logan Paul, the Beast Boy, Ryan's Toy Sales, Toy Barn, all of the other YouTubers. Tommy Fury will be fighting because he came out of mine, got his nutsack, and that's what a Fury fighting fan does.
So both sides have their sticking point. But here's the problem. KSI is 100% right here. Tommy on camera agreed to fight at 180. I'm sure behind the scenes agreed verbally to fight at 180. And KSI is saying they paid him the number they want. I have to think that's 7 figures. I don't know if it's 1 million or 2 million. We know he got 2+ million to come on and fight the Jake fight, which, no pun intended, is going to have an influence on this KSI Tommy fight. We'll come back to it. And now Tommy Fury is just saying, no, we are going to do it my way or the highway. This is how the Furies negotiate. Tommy, John, and Tyson. All you have to do is look to the pro boxing scene and his older brother, Tyson. Right now, this year, Tyson Fury has gone more back and forth than the windshield wipers on London's cars because it never stops raining here. Where's the fucking sun? He says he wants to fight Alexander Usyk. He says he doesn't. Then he talks about Dillian White. Then that one's not it. Then maybe Anthony Joshua. Probably not. Never happening. On the A side. Now, we have Tyson Fury talking about a potential boxing match with Francis Ngannou, which doesn't make a ton of sense at all when you have 3 other big contenders at heavyweight that you could solidify your lineage with, which he says he wants to do. He's a Fury fighting man, right? Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, or in the words of John Fury, balls from his nutsack. But Tommy Fury, I can almost guarantee you, is using the same excuse here with KSI. And I'm starting to think, is there something going on? Like, what is Tommy so afraid of here? The money's right from KSI's perspective. They have given him his hometown, 180, which he said on camera he can do. And no, while he hasn't actually ever fought at specifically light heavyweight, he's fought at catch weights and against Jake at cruiser, but he's made under 180 pounds before. I'm starting to wonder, what is Tommy Fury afraid of here? Is it the fact that he's just trying to milk more out of this deal than a cow on a dairy farm during a vitamin D shortage? I don't know. But what I do know is KSI's had enough of it. So he set a deadline on Tommy Fury. Today's Saturday, July 1st, as I'm recording. July 3rd at 6 p.m. British Standard Time, BST, is when Tommy has to make this decision. And if the past tells us anything, I don't know that Tommy is going to say yes. Because let's look back at the Jake Paul and Tommy Fury fights. There were a couple of times where Tommy and Jake went back and forth in negotiations, and even Jake set deadlines and Tommy just didn't answer. And there were some things that weren't under Tommy's control fully for some of those deadlines. But here's where we get to a bit of a crossroad, because in one hand, he's been mocked on the internet pretty much the last 2 or 3 years because of the Jake thing and the pulling out of fights with YouTubers thing, but it did affect him. Like it did. When he went into that fight with Jake, he wanted to prove to everyone he's not the guy that's afraid of YouTubers and pulling. I can't even take this seriously. Tommy's a pro boxer trying to prove he's not afraid to fight YouTubers. But that's what that was, and now it's coming back around again. That's what it is. KSI putting the pressure on Tommy to once again prove he's not afraid to fight a YouTuber. But here's where things get a little tricky, because KSI told Tommy that Tommy needed him, and KSI didn't need Tommy. And while one half of that is correct, KSI doesn't need to fight Tommy. Now, after the Jake fight, Tommy doesn't have to fight KSI either. And wouldn't you know who won the pony, Jake Paul chimed in as soon as this stuff started popping off to offer Tommy a rematch. Jake said, "I've asked my team to send Tommy Fury the contract for rematch as early as October. Need to handle business on August 5th. Then we run it." Then he quote tweeted that tweet, said 185 pounds, 10 rounds, simple. Now this is a little more interesting because it looks like Jake is trying to pull a Mike the Situation from Jersey Shore. In other words, if you guys are too young, he's trying to commit the robbery here. Tommy and KSI seem to be right at that goal line. What if this entire time Jake has been trying to talk to Tommy behind the scenes? He would have a direct line since they already fought. And here's something we're not talking about. Tommy Fury is now a free agent in fight negotiations. He's no longer represented by Frank Warren. And most people that know the Fury family know that Frank Warren is usually the voice of reason when it comes to contract negotiation. Sure, he's gonna be in his guy's corner. He's gonna always look for the best deal for them, but he does happen to have a little bit more sense and business acumen, whereas Tommy and Tyson act a lot like that police car that just went by, because the sirens go off when something, one little thing, isn't under their control. Frank Warren is usually the mediator there. Without him, I would assume you have John Fury running the entire show. And that means pure fucking chaos. Because as we all know, the Fury family's notorious for saying one thing and doing another. Remember John Fury telling Jake Paul he didn't need to sign a contract about their winning clause that Jake and Tommy had on the line? It was gonna be done with a handshake agreement because the Fury family, we need to go by our word and can't read. So if they'd already verbally agreed to that, wouldn't that already be a binding agreement according to the Fury family and the lineage of it? None of it makes any sense, but what I'm trying to tell you is there's a madman at the helm now, and his name is John Fury. His influence on Tommy we've already seen. This is about to get messy. And again, come Monday, July 3rd, if Tommy doesn't answer this call out, he's basically telling KSI that he does need this fight, that Tommy is the biggest draw KSI could go with right now. And again, I don't know who they would go with if it's not Tommy. Some people are saying Tyron Woodley. I guess maybe you could talk about somebody from the Kingpin tournament should they win, and KSI could wait around until September, somewhere around October, I don't know. But I don't know who else is really out there that's going to test him like Tommy would and draw for him like Tommy would, unless it was Jake Paul, which again, doesn't look like Jake's very interested in right now. So this is gut jack time, and I hate it for KSI because he's not in the wrong here at all. Like, if there is anything I know about KSI, it's that he is not super involved with the fight negotiations. It's not like he is going into every single meeting back and forth with these talks. All he wants to do is show up and fight, just like any other fighter wants to do, show up and fight. And Tommy and their team making it a little more difficult is a little bit of the art of war. It's manipulation. It is a little bit of the mental game that they're trying to play with this side and push it as far as they can until they finally agree or potentially don't. Okay, really quick special update. No, I'm not in W.A.D.E Concept HQ anymore. HQ. It's been a long fucking day, okay? But I'm not in W.A.D.E Concept HQ. Myself, Little Camera Boy Christian, we're on the road. We're in Dublin, Ireland, but there's been some updates on this KSI, Tommy Fury, now Jake Paul drama. If you guys didn't see yesterday, after my video went out, I said I didn't know that Tommy was actually gonna come to the table and accept this demand from KSI to be 180 pounds, take it or leave it. Deadline is July 3rd, this Monday. We're still one day away, but Tommy wasn't having none of that. If you guys didn't know, this again, I will say, is how the Furies do business. They are notoriously difficult. Not notorious Conor McGregor difficult, but they're even worse. This is what Tommy had to say about KSI's demand for 180 pounds.
This fight's at 185, take it or leave it. I know you're a midget and you're worrying about the weight, but get some more food down you and you'll get there. If you just don't want to fight, I know somebody who will fight in October, somebody who's ready to fight and who will get to 185. Jake Paul, if you want to run it back, let's do it. Fine by me. I'll knock your spark out this time.
And this is what I was trying to tell you guys. While yes, KSI doesn't need Tommy, but really the phrase for KSI should be that he doesn't need to fight, because if he's gonna fight and Jake and Tommy, the only two guys that make sense for him right now, Jake's fighting Nate and doesn't really seem keen on the KSI fight. Tommy was kind of the only guy, because now you guys are starting to see Tommy may not need KSI either. And now he's also said, I'm not moving away from 185 pounds because Jake has an offer on the table for October. This is one of the craziest things you will see in influencer boxing. Two of the biggest stars in our scene are fighting over Tommy Fury like the fucking prom queen. What are we doing? It's like KSI and Jake were the two that were supposed to fight each other. And now Tommy has weaseled his way into this scene and become the main guy. I don't know what he is, but he's the main draw for those two. He's the one they're fighting over. And this is where things got even more tough for KSI, because Jake then puts a video out where he talks about Tommy and saying, listen, and he's trying to call Tommy his son, which again, it doesn't really work if Tommy beats you in the fight, but I get what he's doing because he knocked Tommy down and he is the YouTuber that Tommy should have exposed to a higher degree. That was a terrible performance from Tommy, but he still got the fight won, so it is what it is. Jake is now using this as leverage for a KSI future fight, but more so to get his rematch. And again, like I said in the video earlier, pull the robbery on KSI. Jake basically said this.
But Tommy, as my son, I'm disappointed in you, man. I made you a millionaire. I made you famous. You haven't said thank you. You're a prick. You're a bitch. You said you would wipe me across the floor, wipe me across the canvas, but you're the one that tasted the canvas. You're the one that tasted the floor. In a split decision, you barely beat me. So after I knock out Nate Diaz, August 5th, you better be ready. I'm coming.
And as these videos are starting to pile up, the fact that Tommy put his video out, Jake put his video out, it's starting to occur to me that this seems like a setup. A little bit, right? It seems like Jake and Tommy maybe have been talking longer than just now. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but again, it's KSI that's put in a bad situation here, because negotiations are never finalized until pen gets to paper, and it hasn't happened yet in this KSI Tommy fight. So like I said earlier, Tommy's a free agent and he's playing both sides against each other. So then Tommy says, I'm not moving off 185. And KSI already had said that Tommy is the one that needs this fight and JJ doesn't. So it's 180 or he's moving on. And then KSI responded, and then I respect what he said here, but on Twitter, he said this: Tommy, I want to KO your ass so badly that I'll come up in weight and do 185 if you agree to do the weigh-in the morning of fight day. Nice, fair fight. If not, you will forever be known as Tommy Ducky. KSI, I respect a ton for going up to 85 when it really, again, he doesn't have to do that. He hasn't fought at 85 or 90 since the Logan fights, but there's a little bit of respect, but also the fact that he may have just gotten checkmated in this game of art of war, mental manipulation, fight game, fight business tactics, because KSI doesn't care about the business of it as much as he just wants to fight Tommy, again, which I respect, but in essence, he's agreed to fight at 185 pounds. And now the whole fight and then weigh on fight day thing, I don't think Tommy's gonna go for that, but who's to say that KSI is not gonna go, okay, we'll just do 185 and then you can weigh whatever you want on fight day, because he's already given him a couple of leads here. He's already fed him a couple of things where he said he was going to put his foot down and that was going to be it, or I'm moving on. He's like, okay, well, we'll do 185, but it's got to be on fight day. What if Tommy says no? Again, KSI will give him a little bit more leeway, because Tommy is just taking inch by inch by inch right now. That's all he's doing. He's seeing what he can get away with, and KSI's team is letting him get away with it. I get it. He's a big fight, and maybe one that you didn't want to admit that you need right now, but you do need, because if you didn't need it, you wouldn't even entertain that. They want it that badly, and I respect KSI for it, but again, the precedent has been set now. And maybe it's just the way I think about things, but KSI has now verbally said he'll fight at 185 pounds. One of the big sticking points for KSI and Jake was the weight. So if he's willing to fight a tougher opponent in Tommy Fury at 185 pounds, again, on fight day, weigh in on fight day, let's see if they stick to that. I hope so, because KSI needs to get something out of this to at least make it a little fair. But if they do stick to it, KSI beats Tommy, he's got all the leverage, right? KSI, but if he loses, now he's basically told Jake Paul in a matchup that will probably happen, hopefully in the future at some point, that he's willing to fight at 185. And that's exactly where Jake fights. I don't know if this was full-on manipulation from Jake and Tommy, but it is starting to seem like regardless, Tommy has become the focal point of influencer boxing. How did we let this happen? If anything, just have Tommy step aside at this point and have Jake and KSI fight in October. But no, we've allowed Tommy to have our two biggest names, the two biggest superstars we have, fawning over him like their first love, the prom queen, their celebrity crush. It's all there, and I don't understand why. But Tommy's played himself into a nice spot here, and the Furies are continuing to make boxing the most annoying business in combat sports. But what happens, man? We're still one day away. I'm re-recording this in part because I needed to give you guys the latest information. Tomorrow's the deadline. We're going to find out. KSI is trying to call Tommy's bluff. Tommy is just taking inch by inch whatever he can get. Does he answer the call at 185 to weigh in on fight day, or is KSI's team given even more leeway? Or does he even just not do the fight and wait on Jake in the rematch? There's so many variables. I don't have the answers, but guess we'll find out.